It's time for the main event. It's the Shoe Shine.
¿Qué onda, vatos locos? It's your boy Dave, now living in the 702, coming at you with another episode of the Shoe Shine, where people from all over the world get together to talk about all the hottest shit in boxing. Joining me as always, all the way from the city of brotherly love, Philly Irish, Drew Evo. ¿Qué pasa, homie?
What's up, Dave?
What's up with you, man? And a happy Hispanic Heritage Month to all my Latinos out there as we do embark on this month. Today, Drew, is a very special anniversary. It happens to be the anniversary. Check this out. You know what anniversary it is in the sport of boxing? Whose fight was today? This one right here, man. De La Hoya versus Trinidad. One of the greatest Mexican versus Puerto Rico fights. One where Oscar tasted defeat by taking his foot off the brakes. Taking his foot off the gas in the very final rounds, man. Do you remember that fight?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that today was the anniversary of it, September 18th. Lord knows how many years it's been, but I remember watching it as a little kid. And I want to say thank you to everybody joining us live now. This was Mexican Independence Day weekend. I see Ryan in the chat. Saludos, Pack a Bold. Man, thank you for being here. Chicano Prophet, shout out to you and everybody out there that'll be joining us. This was a really, Drew, like it or not, man, we did not get the Canelo Alvarez fight that I always anticipate here in Las Vegas. Now being a Las Vegas local, a Las Vegas resident, we had some really, really excellent fights to look forward to as boxing fans, starting off on Friday night with not only ESPN doing a free televised fight, but a really special fight that I just finally got to watch over the weekend. Not live, but I got to watch this Fierro versus, the guy Zamarripa. And I think that was the best fight of the weekend. But I want to get started on this ESPN card and replay it. Drew's shaking his head. He's probably thinking, why the are you wearing sunglasses? And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Why is Dave wearing sunglasses? And I'm going to be real. If you guys have been watching the Shoe Shine, you guys know that my face is getting closer and closer to this massive iMac screen, and it's a 27-inch. Sarah H, saludos. Shout out to everybody from Urban AZ that watches. Appreciate you being here, and shout out to all my friends from Las Vegas. And this is why I'm wearing these sunglasses, Drew, because they're actually bifocals, and I'm very embarrassed to say that, Drew, that my reading vision is now shot. And so I just have to come to grips with it. I've recently got new glasses that are bifocals, and these are them. I don't have regular ones yet that are clear, and I'm embarrassed as shit to wear reading glasses on the Shoe Shine. That is mas puto. I said it. That's why so I can stay back here and read the effing screen and see all the things I need to do while I'm producing the show. That's why, Drew. Shout out to everybody. I'm going to drink this special IPA today. So I just said I'm living in the 702 now, so I'm going to be drinking this Hop Vegas Hazy IPA. Saludos, everybody. Drew, I want to hear what you had to say, man, because Friday night they offered the fans, sports fans, some free Mexican Independence Day fights on ESPN. But the three fights that were shown were Emiliano Vargas, the son of the legendary Fernando Ferros Vargas, who makes his life now here in Las Vegas. Xander Zayas, who's a friend of the show, I was one of the very first people to interview him on his first professional fight in Reno. Those were them. Those were the prospects / potential contenders they picked. But they did not pick our boy Ruben Villa from Salinas or Jermaine Ortiz that fought so fantastically against Lomachenko. So your thoughts on that? Did you get to see Ruben Villa and Jermaine Ortiz later on in the day?
Yeah, like Jermaine Ortiz had a tough fight. So did Ruben Villa. They both won the fight, but they were both tough fights and everything. Jermaine Ortiz couldn't make 135, so they decided to make the fight 140. They had an agreement. Don't know if he's going to campaign at 140 going forward. That remains to be seen. But they were both wins. I guess they were both expected to be showcase fights, but they were more difficult than expected.
Right, and those were two fights. As I was getting done with my workday, Those fights started at 4 o'clock on ESPN Plus, and of course, I was heavily invested in Ruben Villa, who recently signed a 3-fight deal with Top Rank. One, because I went to go check him out before I left. The Bay Area. I drove down. I was in Salinas for something, and I showed up at his gym, and lo and behold, him and his manager Sam Garcia. Shout out to him. They opened up their arms and were like, "Come on in, bro. Let's talk. Let's record a segment." And that was before he fought on the Thompson boxing card, the fight that got him the 3-fight deal on Top Rank. You guys have probably seen him fight Navarrete, the current 130-pound champion. He fought that guy during the pandemic to a loss, but it was actually, a really good performance by him. One where he wasn't ready, Drew, and he found himself on the same card as Lopez. The headliner is now the IBF featherweight champion, a guy he beat on Showbox. So naturally, Drew, even the commentators at ESPN brought up the storyline because it's a very important storyline. One where we would naturally think that the champion, El Venado Lopez, would want to avenge his loss now that Ruben Villa fights for Top Rank and on a very successful two-fight win streak. He's been on a win streak ever since this loss. One that has to come up, man. Shouldn't you want to avenge? But no, he's talking Inoue, he's talking this, and I think he looked past his opponent this weekend, Drew, because this fight was really close for comfort, one where a lot of people thought Yoet Gonzalez. If you watch the main event, go ahead and hit me up right now in the comments. Do you think that Lopez, El Venado, the current champion, did enough to beat Yoet Gonzalez, who didn't stop, Drew? So that's where I'm at. I think, I was telling you, they gave Ruben Villa a really tough fight, man, because this guy from Colombia, Brandon Valdez, came to fight, gave Ruben Villa hell, but Ruben made all the adjustments. If you guys saw that fight, he made a lot of adjustments. He did not have an easy night. I thought it was going to be an easy opponent. But Drew, both Jermaine Ortiz and Ruben Villa on that undercard that wasn't televised for free had some really tough opponents. And I got to say that because I do not think that they matched up Xander Zayas or Emiliano Vargas. On paper, looks great. Okay, that's the beauty of matchmaking. Looks great on paper, but was successful in doing nothing more than showcasing those young potential future stars. And I do think they'll be future stars. And that's what you needed to see. Huge knockouts in the televised free main event. What are your thoughts on that, man, Drew? Because I heard a rumor today. I was on my show, not my show, our friend's show, Lukey, and I heard a really, really interesting rumor that involves Ruben Villa and the other champion Top Rank has, golden medalist Robeisy Ramirez, Drew. And this is not what I expected for the third and final fight in Ruben Villa's contract with Top Rank. They're talking about throwing Ruben Villa to Robeisy Ramirez. Not El Venado Lopez. No rematch. No storyline there. That's a great fucking storyline. They're talking about throwing him to Robeisy Ramirez, the gold medalist. Mind you, Ruben Villa beat Shakur Stevenson twice as an amateur, but he did not make the Olympic team. If this is really going to be a reality, Drew, and we're talking November is what I'm hearing, you think that shit's fair? And you think Ruben Villa's team should say, we'll take it?
It's a champion. It's an opportunity. It could set up a unification fight with Alvarado Lopez.
Absolutely. You're right about that.
So if people look at it, they're probably making this fight potentially thinking Ruben has a chance to win the fight. So for later on, to have that storyline, make it even better to make it a unification fight. So I think he takes it. I think he does beat Robeisy Ramirez. But I really look at it as if it could be potentially a better storyline to have them fight a rematch as a unification belt.
That's all pending the idea that Ruben Villa does the unthinkable and upsets the gold medalist, the newly crowned Robeisy Ramirez champion. But you're right, Drew. Robeisy Ramirez came in as a professional and lost his first professional fight. He lost. He's got a loss on his record. And yeah, Ruben Villa didn't fight for the U.S., but he's done fantastic as a professional, and he's got those 2 notches against Shakur Stevenson. I think it's a very intriguing matchup, and one that I was wondering, why so fast a turnaround? Yes, he only fought 8 rounds. He wasn't hurt. But if you really, really believe in yourself that you are world champion material, he's going to have to take this opportunity. And it reminds me, Drew, of what last week's show was about, that a star at PBC and Frank Martin somehow gave up the opportunity to fight for a title. How the fuck do you pass up on fighting for a title because you think something else is greater down the line? By the way, shout out to Edwin De Los Santos, the Dominican fighter, who said, I'll take that fight. I'll take that Shakur Stevenson fight. I don't care if you say he's the best future star. I'll take that fight right now. I'm going to fight for a world championship. So I find myself a little bit upset because I really thought that Ruben Villa was in this 3-fight deal going to potentially showcase himself on the exact same card that El Venado won, generate enough buzz. But if indeed it's true that a potential super fight between him and Robeisy Ramirez is in the pipes, I like what you're saying, Drew. And I hope to God that Ruben Villa does win that, because shout out to him. He's a real one from Salinas, California. And for taking that fight, if he does take it, because that is not the easy road to being a world champion. And El Venado Lopez didn't have an easy road either, coming in as a Mexicali fighter, Drew. Not at all. Anyways, by the way, did you see Emiliano Vargas, the son of Fernando Vargas, knock out this guy from Spain? The guy had a 5-0 record. You think the kid's going to be a star?
I think he's going to be a progress, like a process. I mean, it's going to be a process. Like, I think they're going to build him up for at least a couple of years before they even have any idea what he's going to be.
So,
and everything.
So much like we saw in Muhammad Ali's grandson, Nico Ali Walsh, you think that he'll be showcased just like that. Now that Nico Ali is taking a back seat after his loss, is give this opportunity on Mexican Independence Day in a stadium that his father performed at valiantly. And I mean, it was kind of a nice storyline to add the Mexican Independence Day. And I think on free ESPN televised fight, he performed with an A+. He absolutely performed with an A+. I met Emiliano. I was talking to our friend, Sarah. I see Sarah H in here. I was talking to our friend, Jose El Compita this weekend, who was asking me on Friday night if I was ready to see those fights. And I sent him a picture of Emiliano Vargas when I sat next to him at Canelo Alvarez versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I sat next to him, his brother Amado, his grandpa that was featured on their television show. And I sat next to them for the entire fight. And he was only 11 or 12 years old. Look at him now. He's a man doing his thing, following in his father's footsteps. So shout out to him. Shout out to the Fernando Vargas family. Let's get this Anders Zayas, Drew, because he's also a friend of the show. I saw him perform in his first pro debut, youngest fighter to get signed. And we recently heard all this stuff about, Jesus Ramos Jr. And we did the interview. Jesus is open to fighting this young guy. Is he finally making that transition from prospect to contender at 154 pounds?
I think the verdict is still out on him. Like, the way that they're developing him, I think they're going to eventually have to start bumping up the competition to see where they at with him and everything. What's he have, like 16, 17 fights now?
Yeah, it's been a pretty good 3 years. I mean, it's been about 3 years now. He's just turned 21.
Yeah, that's the thing. I really think that it's time for his next is to bring up maybe a former champion that's like almost out the door and everything. See where it's at and everything. See what type of is somebody that is on his last leg and everything, that has everything to fight for. Has to see how Xander does against somebody like that. Because like right now, these guys, you're seeing some, but a little bit of what Xander has to work on and everything with these guys. But you're gonna have to start up in 11 now competition, because he's at 16 or 17 pro fights now, and the plan. I don't know what the plan is to have him up to be ready for contention for a title or something. How many years away they think they have him away from contending for a title or fighting for a title, but I can't see it being no more than 2 years. And but he's moving up the rankings fast, so that eventually they're gonna be offered a fight that eliminator, and they don't know if he's ready for that yet. So it's time to up in the competition. So when you get that call and say, "Yo, we're gonna offer him a title eliminator," you'll be more confident of him going into that title eliminator, of him winning that title eliminator, or being seasoned enough to at least have a good shot at winning it.
Well, the guy he fought, Roberto Valenzuela, is a fighter with 20-plus fights on his record, a heavy-handed Mexican opponent. But sometimes heavy Mexican hands don't necessarily translate into a high skill set. So Xander Zayas was easily able to break him apart, break him down with 2 knockdowns, one which I think was a tangle of the feet. But nonetheless, he busted up the dude's nose quite well in round 5. And that was it. That's just about all. A TKO on TV. The Mexican opponent was left battered, but quite graciously. What I really like about Xander, what everyone in the boxing media likes, is that they know the kid is special, humble, and makes for good TV. He graciously thanked the largely Mexican pro crowd for being great fans. And he knows the value of Mexican fan base because, like I said today is the anniversary of one of the greatest rivalries, Mexican versus Puerto Rico, and Oscar De La Hoya and Trinidad, Felix Trinidad, which is a fighter that when I talked to Xander Zayas 3 years ago as a 17-year-old, he said Felix Trinidad really was his idol, one of his boxing idols. I like that fight. Drew, you're right about everything, man. He's a solid 2 years from fighting for a world title, in my opinion. He just fought his first 10-rounder.
Yeah, I just if people are really going to try to say, "Oh, I want to see Ramos versus Xander and everything," I'll be honest with you, even if Xander is ready, I don't think he beats Jesus Ramos. I really think Jesus Ramos is the future of this 154-pound division. I think he's the future king of it. I think he's the one that has the most upside in this division out of all the prospects / only just became contenders at that division. He has the most upside and everything. And he's young too. And they're moving him, and he has almost the same amount of fights as Xander does, but he's more seasoned. He's actually fighting the guys that he's supposed to be fighting with to give him that right to move up as a contender, like Joey Spencer.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy that was a prospect, borderline contender, getting ready to become a borderline contender and everything. Jesus might defer him, make it look easy too, and everything. Does Xander beat Joey Spencer? Yes, I think Xander can beat Joey Spencer. I didn't think Joey Spencer was really ready for Jesus Ramos and everything. I think the way that they brought up Spencer was that, hey, these pushovers, if we don't know, this might be the best he's going to be. So let's match him up now with Jesus, and let's see which one's has the bigger upside. So it turns out Jesus had the way bigger upside because he dominated from start to finish. It didn't even go the distance. He knocked him out.
Yeah, shout out to D-Style. Shout out to our boy D-Style and everybody joining us in the room. Remy had a really good comment. He says, salute Dave, Drew, and everyone. De La Hoya and Golden Boy are wrong for staging William Zepeda in an empty grow house. I was taken back by that, guys. I had no idea it was going to be in a tent. To be honest, for Mexican Independence Day, I'm like, Could you not sell the Punch Bowl, the StubHub Center in Carson? Did you not have any faith in this event that you couldn't sell that place out? It was kind of strange to me, and I think that Top Rank did a much better job. But speaking of D-Style, make sure you guys catch that interview. Go back and like it. Leave us a comment on the interview we did with Jesus Ramos Jr., who gets ready for his fight as the co-main event for Canelo. Drew, you're right about a lot of the things you pointed out about Jesus. He's now a co-main on a pay-per-view for Canelo Alvarez. Like, how much closer can you be a star than being the co-main? But what they're doing really good with Xander is putting them on free TV. Both things that are going to be necessary to make these kids future stars. Today, Drew, I just read this weekend is the rematch of Joe Joyce versus Big Bang Zhang. And Brian Mendoza is a stablemate right here in Las Vegas with the great Cuban coach that they both have. He's a stablemate of Joe Joyce. And immediately after this fight, he's headed to Australia to finish up his camp for Tim Tszyu. That says a lot to me, man. I'm not ever going to count out Brian Mendoza with what I've seen him do. I think it's going to be a fantastic fight, and I think it's great news to hear he's taking off early. He's going to finish up his camp down under. So what's on your mind, Drew?
I look at it like this. Tim Tszyu says Mendoza should be named the 4 WBC champion. But here's my thing. Are we going to see a rematch of Fundora and Brian Mendoza? Likely, I don't think we are. I'll be honest with you. I think when they're looking at Jesus Ramos, Brian Mendoza, Tim Tszyu, you can even put Jamil Charlo in because he's technically still 154-pound champion and a fighter down there. And Fundora, and he's fighting, then Jesus Ramos is fighting Anderson Lubin on the undercard, which is the toughest fight of his career so far, biggest test of his career. I look at it like this. This is going to set up, if he blows past Lubin, this may set up Ramos versus Fundora as a potential eliminator or potential for a vacated belt. Oh, because I'm telling you this right now, I think if Charlo's not going to come back down to 154 probably, so they're going to vacate the belts and everything. I'll be honest, I really think Jesus is going to be offered a fight for one of these vacated belts. They're going to look at it. They're going to probably let Mendoza fight someone for a vacated belt or name the world champion. They're probably going to have maybe Ramos versus maybe Fundora for a belt. Maybe Lubin might get a shot at a vacated belt and everything. And they're gonna have and after that, Tim Tszyu is gonna be made for WBO champion right after they introduce Charlo as undisputed champion. So I really think that everything goes through Tim Tszyu as of right now because he's other than Jamil Charlo, he's about to be the only legit champion at that division. So I can see them potentially having Ramos versus Fundora for an IBF belt or a WBA belt. And I could see Mendoza being elevated to champion unless they decide to have a rematch with Fundora and Brian Mendoza for that 4 championship. Either way, people are going to complain about somebody being in a position like Fundora and Lubin because they're both going to wind up coming off losses. And Fundora coming off a knockout loss, and Lubin could be knocked out. I'm predicting Ramos to knock Lubin out. So somebody's not going to be happy about when these fights are made up for these vacated belts.
No one's ever going to be happy. You're right, Drew. And I won't be surprised if they make an honest effort to get Xander Zaya's WBO shot. Maybe earlier than he's ready, but, that's not usually how Top Rank rolls. They might just wait and see how things fall by the wayward. Let's see here. We got some awesome comments. Ryan says, I think Golden Boy could have done better in regards to that fight on Saturday. And Drew, I want to get to that main event on ESPN. Yoet Gonzalez going for his third attempt at a featherweight title at 126 pounds against El Venado Lopez, who defended his title across seas in Ireland against Conlon. And he won the title against Warrington. I mean, this is a guy, a road dog, Drew, but somehow to me, this is not the Lopez I expected to show up and dominate Yoet Gonzalez, a skillful boxer, but somebody that I thought would obviously not be able to take the punishment for the entire 12 rounds. But in many ways, he rallied back in a lot of these rounds and made an honest effort to say, I deserve to win some of those rounds. This is a fight after watching it twice. I'm stuck. It could have gone 7-5 either way, but you have to beat the champion. And if you look at the face of Yoet Gonzalez, it said he lost. And I know you're not supposed to judge on that, but I think obviously not only the crowd, but the judges had to take that into consideration. Yoet Gonzalez performed admirably, but comes up short on his third attempt. But what about you, chat? Let me know what you guys think, man. Did Yoet Gonzalez do enough? Because it was a bad performance. In my opinion, Lopez started off great, but he just takes his foot off the gas.
Lopez winning 8-4 on my part. He Gonzalez won rounds, but he really did not win enough to win this fight. I had an 8-4 Lopez. People are thinking this is a closer fight. Nah, I just did not think this was really it could have gone either way. I didn't see it close. I didn't see it like that way. I really thought that Lopez clearly won the fight 8-4. He made a good effort, Gonzalez, but he clearly didn't win the fight. And I think people need to really watch the fight a couple more times or something, because I seen clearly this fight was clearly a win for Lopez.
All right. Well, Remy says very close fight, Dave. Ryan says Gonzalez did much better than expected, though. Yeah, I actually expected him to get knocked out, which he didn't, man. All credit to Yoet Gonzalez, who put up a very valiant effort that just fell short in the judges' eyes to many people. Maybe he won a moral victory. And now we kind of see where his career will go. To me, had Ruben Villa fought Lopez in the main event, he would have won a second time, personally.
Are we really giving points for more victories in boxing?
Nah. There's a win is a win. A win is a win.
A win's a win. Like, oh, you get a moral victory. Who gives a fuck about a moral victory? Are you leaving with a belt for moral victory? No, you're not. You're just leaving it. Want your fucking applause, man? I want that fucking belt.
Yeah.
And everything. But man, like, he performed better than he expected to perform. Everybody had him expected to, but there's no more victories in boxing. You didn't win the fucking fight. You still lost the fight at the end of the fucking day. You ain't leaving no fucking belt. And you're not getting a fucking rematch. So, whoopie-doo.
Yeah, exactly. Nando Lama says, Yoet is an excellent gatekeeper now, spoiler type now. Exactly. Hey, shout out to Let Us Market You for joining us here in this conversation. I appreciate you being here. Drew, as I move on to the Friday card that I didn't get to see live because I was glued to the ESPN card, I did read this horrific, tragic news on Friday night. Something that is so strange and bizarre, but tragic, was the fact that Sky Nicholson, who looks to be this huge star, female boxing star coming out of Australia, she fought. She went to Tijuana to fight. And the girl she was fighting, her husband is her trainer, Sabrina Perez. Her husband's name is Diego Arrua. Passed away at the fight in a bizarre and tragic, sad story. Here he is taping his wife's hands before the fight, Drew. And I mean, I have a little video clip. I don't want to play the whole thing, but apparently, excuse me, I just Dogstar phone line here. All right. Here's the clip. Here is the clip. Is it going to play? Yeah. There we go. That's her husband there in the corner. And Drew, he had a fatal heart attack, unfortunately. It's very horrifying news. So I do send my condolences and our prayers to the fighter, Sabrina Perez, who fought valiantly. It's just a very, very sad story. So if everyone can say a prayer tonight for Coach Diego Arrua, who may he rest in peace. It's just a very sad story. This main event, though, on Friday night, okay, there's a guy named Fierro. If you guys haven't heard him, we're talking about lightweights now as we move on to lightweights, because the big fight on Saturday is a lightweight that, in my opinion, and I've been advocating for, is a top 5 fighter, and he has been for over maybe close to 2 years now, Drew. I think William El Camarón Cepeda is a top 5 lightweight. He just has not got the attention he deserves. And in this brutal KO, he showed he's a top lightweight. But this guy from Mexicali, I think he's from Tijuana as well, Angel Fierro, is a wrecking machine, guys. This guy he fought on Friday night, and he's also from Mexico. Let me make sure I say his name is right, man. Brian Zamarripa gave him hell, Drew. This fight was amazing. Back and forth action. At one point, Zamarripa, who nobody thought was going to compete with the power, rocked Brian. This is the round to watch, guys. Go back on YouTube, put in the DAZN, look for the highlights, and watch round 7. This was the best fight of Mexican Independence Day weekend. For me, it was the absolute best fight. Back and forth, barn burner. Way more competitive than the Zepeda fight versus Hesta, which was not competitive. This fight was a barn burner in classic Mexican fashion, Drew. Back and forth, hurting each other. And at the very end, it was a miracle in the final round that Zamarripa survived the assault by Angel Fierro. A really good fight. So much so that, let me see what the scorecards were. I think I wrote them down. 96-94 for Fierro, 96-4 for Zamarripa, and a final 96-95 for Angel Fierro, who goes on to, in my opinion, is going to be a Zepeda-type fighter that is going to give hell to anybody, and they need to start promoting him and bring him here. F this Tijuana fight team, bro. They need to bring him to the U.S. and put him... Of course, he's with the DAZN. So anyways, I'm not sure if you guys got to see it. Please let me know. Nando Lama says Zamarripa was wearing a UFC-style thin-ass belt cup. Crazy. Yeah, and he was taking those body shots, man. Ryan says, I had 2 laptops going, one for Fierro Zamarripa, and the other one was for the ESPN. It was the best fight of the night, for sure. Friday night, I think it was the best fight of the entire weekend, but Ryan says definitely the best fight of Friday night. So, that being said, Drew, you're shaking your head, your mate. Did you see this Fierro fight? Do you think he's worthy to be a top 10 fighter at this point?
I thought Fierro won the fight. I had it 90, 90. I think I had it 98, 92, I believe it was. But I haven't seen so many clean landed punches in my fucking life. Because a lot of those punches were cleanly landed by both fighters and everything. But to your point that William Zepeda as a top 5 lightweight, gotta disagree.
Not top 5?
I'm not high on him. He has 29 professional fights, and he has clearly not moved up in competition to fight anybody yet.
Okay. What about Hester, who just beat Jojo Diaz?
I don't know what's Golden Boy been doing with the fighters lately, but it's more like they're fucking somewhat protecting them.
Okay.
Enough and everything. And here's the thing. I don't think Oscar will put him in there with Shakur Stevenson yet if he was offered that fight. I don't think so. I really think he looked bad in his he got knocked down, I think. Was it the last fight he got knocked down in?
Zepeda was knocked down about 3 or 4 fights back now. Cold. Yeah. He was pretty cold. He came in, I think, to that fight. He hadn't been warmed up, and he got shocked, and he got stunned, and he had to rally back. He was dropped in the second round. And that was that fight, Drew, where I said, maybe I'm wrong about this guy. But
Like,
I've changed my opinion
I,
since.
I just don't think William Zepeda is going to be beating these top guys. I just don't think he beats Shakur Stevenson because all this dude got is a punch output. And if he got power but a punch output, and what you do to easily beat that, time him. If you can time William Zepeda, you'll beat him easily.
I've only seen one guy, as we just pointed out. One guy timed him perfectly. But 100 plus, I'm asking you guys in the chat, a guy that throws on average up to 117 punches per round, can Shakur Stevenson box perfectly? Can he be defensively? Can he be that much of a defensive wizard to basically block all 117 shots in one round coming at him? I don't know if he could do it, bro. I don't know if Shakur could do that.
If you time him and start landing punches on him, you slow his volume down dramatically. That's how you take out a puncher that has a lot of volume. You time him, you land your punches, that volume goes down, skyrocketed, because that turns that fighter into a more of a defensive fighter now because he's getting hit. And like, if you look at it like this, I'm timing him, I land punches, I take his work rate down because I turn him into a defensive fighter now. Because now he has to realize, when I'm throwing more punches, where is he going to time me at to land that right hook or something? We really need this. You have to look at it like this. Zepeda's defense is his volume punching. You time him, he's defenseless because he doesn't know how to defend anywhere else and everything. Fighters like Shakur Stevenson, Lomachenko, Devin Haney, Jermaine Ortiz, these guys will all time him and will beat, and all of them beat him easily.
You mentioned Devin Haney, but Devin Haney had a tough time against the Venezuelan. He almost got dropped. He was on skanky legs for 3 rounds.
You talking about Linares?
I'm talking about Linares, and I think that Zepeda is much better in his prime fighter.
He's not a volume puncher. He doesn't throw a lot of punches. Or there's punches like that, Linares. He's more technical than Zepeda. Zepeda's not really that technical of his punches. He relies on the volume to have an advantage on people, on fighters and everything. And the fighters to match them up with, it works against them because they want to bang. They don't want to box with them. They're gonna bang. That's all these guys gonna do with them. Right. So when you put a boxer in there that's gonna work on trying to time him and get his timing down, we're gonna see if he's going to be effective more when that timing goes down. And when that volume goes down on those punches and everything, what's he going to do? Is there a plan B? He's never had to go to plan B yet, Dave. And when he reaches that point that he has to go to plan B, what is he going to do? I doubt he has a plan B because they only rely on his volume punching. And here's the thing. He's a good fighter, but you got to put him up. It's time to start putting him up against close to top 5 opposition now. You got a great relationship with Bob Arum. I don't care about if the fight's on DAZN, if the fight's on ESPN. Like, it looks like in the past couple of years, Golden Boy's on a protection plan with some of their fighters. And so what can I say? Like, I just look at it as it is, like back to bully and everything. That went wrong because he got caught by Gabe Rosado, but they decided to match him up later on with Rosado, and because they see Rosado, they get him lost with Hyman Mejia. After that, match him up again with him. Back to bully dominates him and everything, and then they're back to building them back up. And then they were doing the same with Blair Cobbs until they decided to match him up with Alexis Rocha because he has more of an upside than Blair Cobbs at welterweight. Because the guy that beat Alexis Rocha, Sheedy Ellis, they didn't want to use him after they beat Rocha because they thought Rocha would have beat him. So, like, tell you the truth, they're more on a protection plan now with some of the other fighters because they don't want to pick the wrong matchup for these guys because they've been wrong in the last couple of years, they've been wrong a couple of times.
Shout out to Calix Boxing. D-Style says, Drew should explain this to Calix because Calix has got him as his top 3. Well, Calix, I got him in my top 5. But you guys, Drew might ultimately be right because there was a time where I remember being a young boxing fan where I thought Arturo Gatti was going to just ram through Floyd Mayweather. And that was a complete schooling. And if anybody's closest thing to a modern day Floyd Mayweather, as a total package, it's Shakur Stevenson. It could end up that way, Drew, but I think that ultimately that only a dangerous puncher that with that much volume stands a chance against Shakur. And if it turns out that way, like an Arturo Gatti shutout versus Floyd Mayweather, then so be it. But I want to see it. I want to see a great Mexican throwback fighter take on somebody who's a technician like Shakur Stevenson. I want to see it for myself. If he gets shut out, he does so well. We got a caller on the line. He says he wants to talk to Drew Evo.
But you know,
Nando, what do you want to say to Drew?
I do got one good fight that Zepeda can be in, and
What's
I
that?
think it will be a great fight. But I don't think the guy will fight Zepeda because he ducks mostly everybody because he only cares about is a tank fight, and that's Isaac Cruz.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Frank Martin. Nando, you're on with the shoe shine.
I don't think Frank Martin takes that fight either.
Nando, you
Hey,
still
Dave,
there?
Dave, you are the most. Hey, yeah, dude. Dave, you must be the most patient.
What happened, Nando? You still there?
Bullshit.
What
Dude,
happened?
like, first of all, dude, Pedro, right? Like, Drew's like just shooting him down like he's a nothing burger, man. But this guy does not throw wide punches. When you say somebody's an active puncher and they're opening themselves up to a big counter shot, that means that guy throws a lot of looping punches. But Zepeda doesn't throw looping punches. His punches. So I really don't know what D-Style or Drew are talking about. But this guy just going to steal a decision out of somebody, even with Shakur. That guy's going to steal a decision from somebody.
Nando, your argument sounds like your phone connection.
Yeah, Nando, I'm sure you're making a great connection, but it is coming in and out. So you're advocating that Zepeda is not this wild looping shot action fighter. He's actually got some skills. Okay. Nando's probably going to call back, but I think he was siding with Dave in the 702 on this one, that Zepeda's got some skills.
You gotta look at it. The one that beats like volume and speed is timing.
True.
If it doesn't throw looping punches, you can still time him and everything. And like, here's the thing: his defense is his volume punching. And if you time him and you take that volume punching down, he's defenseless. Because that volume of punching goes down. That punch count goes down dramatically because you're in defense mode. Like, come on now, like. It's like this when if you're trying to burn clock off in football and everything, and you're being more conservative, so that means you're running the ball, you're being conservative and everything. That's going to try him taking the volume punching away from Zepeda makes him more conservative of what the flow, and that's a huge disadvantage for Zepeda because he needs that volume punching in order to keep him in the fight, and some judges do go by volume punching when it comes to judging anything. Like, that's why people are arguing that Van Figueroa beat fucking Stephen Fulton and everything. And then Manny Pacquiao with Ugas and everything with the volume, like because he threw all these punches. But here's the thing. If you time Zepeda 7 to 8 times out of 10, you're probably going to beat him. You could probably beat him.
Well, Nando's phone connection was really bad, but I was just talking about a fight that I remember as a younger boxing fan, and that was Arturo Gatti versus Floyd Mayweather. But Nando says Zepeda is Jose Luis Castillo 2.0, and that is a fighter that arguably should have gotten the nod against Floyd Mayweather. Floyd.
But you want to know something? Castillo's a lot better than Zepeda.
I don't know, bro. I mean, to me, he might be the modern day version of Jose. I love it. I love that analogy. I think you might be onto something, Nando. And he did do remarkably well. He did not get the nod on that first fight, and Floyd came back to easily handle him in the second one. But that first fight was a lot like Marcos Maidana, who some say should have gotten the nod in his fight too.
But I can't have him as top 5 right now.
All right.
Can't. He has to fight one.
Can
of
you
these
give
guys.
me your top? Can you give us your lightweight top 5?
Do we consider Haney as in that division still?
He hasn't technically given him up
because we have to technically put him as number 1 because he is technically champion.
Mm-hmm.
We can put Lomo number 2, Shakur number 3. And tell you the truth, I put Jermaine Ortiz as number 4 and Tank number 5.
There you have. Well, that's not a bad list.
I'll tell you why I put Jermaine Ortiz as number 4. I think Jermaine Ortiz is a hell of a damn good fighter, and I really think he'll give a lot of these guys problems, and I think he'll beat some of these guys. Like I look at it like this. I think Jermaine Ortiz will beat William Zepeda. I really think so. I will pick Jermaine Ortiz to win that fight. Like,
I'm not sure he survives that fight. I could easily substitute Jermaine Ortiz, Drew. Number 4, I will put Gervonta Tank Davis at number 4 at lightweight, Drew, and number 5, William Zepeda. Easily, comfortably making the top 5 list. Jermaine Ortiz possibly coming in 6. But making the top 10, because you're right. He has done very well against an all-time legend, and he's continued to be on a win streak after that.
Like I'll be honest with you. If we're gonna put the conversation on, I really would put Frank Martin before William Zepeda.
Hell no! Shout out to my boy Fonzie.
I really would,
ask Fonzie 619. Drew, we've seen him twice. Tell me, Fonzie, in the chat, would you put Frank Martin even close to the top 5? Oh,
I would have put them. They're not top 5 though. I wouldn't even put them in top 5. They're not. Both of them not top 5 fighters.
This Frank Martin, the Duck.
If you look at it, I would probably put them like they're in the top 10. They're definitely top 10.
I'll say top
10. But they're not top 5.
Yeah.
Not yet. I think they both have to fight somebody closer to that top 5 to fucking make it to that top 5. And like that's why I was thinking I would like to see Zepeda fight Isaac Cruz and everything. But like I just don't see it. You're going to have to eventually match these guys up.
Does anybody in the chat have Isaac Cruz, who's fighting a rematch, have him in your top 5 at lightweight? I mean, you can make an argument for that.
In the top 5. Like, so to tell you the truth, I don't think Isaac Cruz is that good of a fighter.
So, all right, Fonzie, our boy, was in here. I don't know if he just dipped out, but he's going to be going with me to the fight. We're going to go see Joe Smith Jr. in just a few weeks. I'm so excited about that. But this, as the co-main, Drew, November 16th, speaking of Shakur Stevenson, as the main event, Shakur Stevenson versus Edwin De Los Santos, the Dominican, who did take him up for that vacant 135 WBC belt. This is the co-main, and this is a really good co-main because Constant Child did really good, in my opinion, against Oscar Valdez. He's an Olympian. This is going to be a tough test, another good, tough test for the new 130-pound champ, Navarrete, in Las Vegas just a week before Thanksgiving. One that I got to debate. I mean, they were joking about this on the roundtable, Drew. This is the kickoff to Formula One in the city of Las Vegas. And the construction nightmare that is F1 shutting down all of the Las Vegas Strip to create a thoroughway for 200-mile-per-hour race cars. Drew, I think I might just have to walk to this fucking fight. I drove my car to the Cosmopolitan on a Saturday, and it took me longer to get into the fight than it did that I stayed at the fight. So if I go to this fight right here, November 16th, I may just have to walk there or take my bicycle or some shit, bro. But it's a good fight, guys. I like this fight too, man.
I can see this fight going either way for some reason. I can see Constantine putting an upset. I can see it. Like, for some reason, I can see him beating Navarrete. But would I pick him to beat Navarrete? Probably not, but I can see him beating him for some reason. But I think that Shakur Stevenson fight may be a little bit more difficult than people think of it to be.
It's more difficult than Frank Martin. I saw Frank Martin twice. He came very close to losing to that Olympic fighter from Europe. He very close to losing that fight. If it wasn't for his late adjustments that he made and, stepping on the gas, he could have lost that fight. And it was shocking that he turned down an opportunity to fight Shakur. We'll see how that all plays out. I, for one, think it's going to backfire.
I really think when it comes to, I think some promotional companies are getting slippy when it comes to matchmaking to get these guys up. I don't know. I think some guys are missing on these matchmaking and everything, and putting some of the money makers in danger and everything before they're supposed to be in danger. But I think Frank should have took the fight. You don't know if he's going to ever get on for a title fight.
Speaking of that Frank Martin fight, Drew, the DAZN card featured Yokasta Valley, the Costa Rican female champion that is biting at the opportunity to fight. What is it? Sinisa Estrada, super bad, which we saw recently. Fonzie, I was there with Fonzie, and I think Fonzie's told me his nephew that was with us has a massive crush on Yokasta Valley, Drew. And even my wife commented that Yokasta Valley has very nice legs this weekend, but we're not there to watch their legs. We were there to watch the fight. And I was wondering if you saw the fight.
I was watching something else, but okay.
I was wondering if you watched the fight. If you guys watched the fight, does Yokasta Valley look the goods to beat Sinisa Estrada? Because quite honestly, that performance was uninspiring to me that I saw Yokasta Valley in this weekend. Uninspiring. Yeah, it was a dominating fight. But quite honestly, Sinisa Estrada did not look that good to me when I went and saw her in person just a month ago.
Well, it's safe to say she's not selling out stadiums.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you roll with Golden Boy, you might be performing in a tent at this point, which is shocking because Oscar put on a fairly good event at the Palms Casino just a month before. So does anybody have a comment on Yokasta Valley and Sinisa Estrada? Because it's a super women's fight that the people want to see. I think there's an interest in that fight. But I'm starting to think it's not going to play out to be that great of a fight. That reminds me of like a great women's fight we recently had, which was the Irish fighter.
I don't think the fight's going to happen.
You don't think it's going to happen?
I don't think it's going to happen because
we got one person.
Oscar's going to think that they're the A side. Bob's going to say they're the A side.
Yeah, and Sinisa left Golden Boy on bad terms.
I don't think Oscar wants to give Sinisa that opportunity to fight, to take a belt off one of his fighters and then leaving Golden Boy and everything. I just don't see the fight happening. And what the girl's gonna say? I can sell out a tent. So, but I don't know. I'm really looking at it. I don't think this fight's gonna happen. Oscar's going to make a point that he's going to bring the story. Oh, they don't want to take the money you're offering and everything. Offer a good amount of money, and then Bob's going to come out and say, "Yeah, offer him a very hefty sum of money and everything." Then they're going to deny the money that's being offered. They're going to do that. Golden Boy's going to deny them being offered that type of money. They're going to try to say each of the other didn't want the fight.
Yeah,
and at the end of the day, somebody's going to find out the real story, and they're going to say, they didn't want to risk it and everything. And it's likely going to be probably Golden Boy because that angle, I'm not going to let her take a belt and leave me and then take a belt off my fighter and get paid for it hastily and everything. And plus, network rights. Is this fight going to be on DAZN? Is it going to be on ESPN and everything?
But we got some comedians. Drew, we got some comedians in the chat tonight. Fonzie619 says, "The girls actually box? I'm only there because it's the only way I can look at girls without getting in trouble." Chicano Prophet says, "I won't watch that fight unless they get equal pay." Now, I'm wondering, equal pay, like they get paid equally, 50-50 split? Well, what is he really talking about here? Women's rights issues here. All right, Sim City Syndicate, this is a Vegas Insider one. Current odds, Norma Gelly plus 1,100, Cass Holland negative 1,500. Oh, that one is hilarious. That's an inside joke. All right, I see you laughing, Davey says. All right, speaking of funny shit, as we wind this show down, oh man, this guy is always a clown. This is probably, I don't know how he doesn't stop clowning around. Drew.
Time out, Dave.
Yeah.
You better not put this fucking dude on the phone. If you put this fucking dude on the phone and I think it is, I'm fucking hanging up.
On the phone? No. It is a clip. This is a video clip, and it's not from any of my friends.
I thought you were gonna have
you talking about
person called and I was
no.
now.
This is a clip right here. Let's pay attention to the biggest clown in boxing. Not one of his funniest performances. Actually, you know what? Now I regret playing that clip. I really do playing that because it wasn't one of his funniest performances. Harassing people that work at McDonald's. Actually, it was classless, man. I regret playing that clip. It was not funny, guys. All right, one last thing about that DAZN card on Saturday night, guys. Victor Morales for Golden Boy. He looks like a relative of Canelo. He's a redheaded fighter from Washington, but he's all Mexican pride, Drew. He was in for a fight of his life for this guy from Mexico City that came in with pink hair and rainbow-colored freaking shorts, Drew. It was the best fight of Saturday night. Victor Morales at featherweight is kind of special. I don't know if he's going to be special enough to be a world champion, but I think most definitely he's on my radar to get a world title shot in the next year, 18 months, maybe 2 years. And along the way, it's going to be a fun ride because Victor Morales, he got heart. And when he had to dig deep against a guy who wasn't even ranked in the top 15, a guy that came alive from Mexico City with that high altitude training and started getting his face busted up, he rallied back and made those adjustments, and it was a barn burner. So go back and watch that Victor Morales fight versus, what's this guy? Edwin Palomares. My second choice for best fight of Mexican Independence Day weekend. And with just that fight, just go watch that fight on DAZN on YouTube and go watch the Angel Fierro fight, and you're good, man. That's all you needed to know about this weekend in boxing. Drew, are you ready to make our picks? Because time is short. We've already passed the hour mark. Joe Joyce versus Zalil Bang Zhang, whatever they call him, the Big Bang rematch. Did we even need to see this rematch? Because these guys should really be, let's not argue about it. I think both of these guys could be top five heavyweights.
I really saw this as one-sided. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's going to be much. A little better, but I think Zhang wins this by stoppage again. I think, here's the thing. Joe Joyce's defense is going in, walking in, and taking shots to the face. Because no one can hurt, he can't, he has a chin. It's a good, hey, if you're looking for action, that's an action fight and everything. But I don't think he'll adjust enough to do anything better than what he did in the first fight, enough to have Zhang, stay off him and everything. So I'm going Zhang, but I'm going to late round stoppage.
All right. I'm kind of on the fence for this one. We got one person in here. Nando says a fun fight. Joyce gets revenge. I think his trainer is easily one of the best trainers in all of boxing. Ismael Zales out of Las Vegas, the Cuban coach. I don't know if they could teach Joe Joyce to make these adjustments, to make these changes necessary to beat Zalil Zhang, because he kept getting hit with the same punch over and over, the overhand power left that was wrecking the face of Joe Joyce. Can they make that change that quickly?
But here's the thing. Not only got hit with it, Zhang adjusted during the fight and blocked something else with that jab and that straight left hand. Right. Tell you the truth, man, I just don't think Joyce is like 36, 37 now. Like, if he was younger, I could expect it, but I just don't see it. I think they're going to figure ways how to get to him more now. How to get to that eye more.
I think Zalil Zhang had a harder time against Herzovic, and Herzovic got exposed recently. And I think he had to make more adjustments in that fight, Drew. A much more competitive fight in that one that I think Zalil Zhang should be undefeated. We could easily be talking about Zalil Zhang being an opponent to Usyk, an opponent to Anthony Joshua, or even Tyson Fury. But because of that loss, it's been a major setback. And he finds himself in this rematch, one that I think he's got to stop Joe Joyce to be in conversation with these heavyweight champions.
I think he beats Joyce again. I think I think he gets a shot. I really think if he doesn't get a shot next, I think he'll be considered for maybe AJ or Wilder or somebody like one of these guys that can put him in a position to get a huge fight.
Yeah, Nando says Zhang is no spring chicken either. And by the way, guys, if you have Netflix and you find yourself some downtime to watch content on Netflix, I finally saw the big George Foreman movie. And I got to tell you, Drew, it was an easy 2 hours to watch. And of course, the highlight of the movie is him getting his redemption as a 45-year-old man, winning the heavyweight title all over again. It can be done. It can and has been done as a heavyweight boxing, that we see guys fighting into their late 30s and even mid 40s and win a heavyweight title if they haven't taken that much damage. Nobody even knows what that Cuban fighter, what's the Cuban fighter that everyone jokes about being in his 50s for all we know?
Trying to think.
Yeah, him. Anyways, nobody knows his age. I mean, it can be done if you haven't taken that much damage, man. We've seen it. And I gave up on the Tyson Fury docuseries on Netflix, guys. I just couldn't get into it. Even going and that they have Tommy Fury behind the scenes. Like, I'm not that interested in Tommy Fury to keep watching the storyline. So I got to pass on it. But Ryan says that movie was actually surprisingly good. Yeah, I actually thought it was a very easy 2 hours to digest. And I did enjoy that movie. That being said, there's one more fight this weekend, Drew, which is Chon Zepeda out of Long Beach, California. We've seen him for a long time. People were like, man, he's the shit at 140 pounds. He deserves a title shot. Regis Prograis made him look like a bum. And I'm starting to wonder if all these brutal wars that he's been in, like Ivan Barancak Fight of the Year, where they exchanged a total of over 8 knockdowns, I'm starting to think Chon Zepeda is a gatekeeper. And we're going to see it this weekend against Hitchens, who is a TMT protege, a guy that, that Floyd picked up and brought to TMT. And I think he's going to finally fight his first real major name in Chon Zepeda. And it's probably going to be very similar to the Regis Prograis fight, one where he just doesn't get off. But what do you guys say? Let me know what you guys think in the chat. Drew, are you still here? Not sure what happened, guys, but I was intending to wrap up the show, and I just want to say thank you to everybody that joined us tonight. I see Impala #CCD. I appreciate you being a new person in here. Drew, this fight, Hitchens versus Chon Zepeda, is Chon Zepeda finally becoming over the hill, or was that a fluke that he lost in the manner to Regis Prograis?
Nah, he's going to lose this fight, too. I think he's gatekeeper now. I just don't see it anymore.
Yeah, especially with all the new blood at 140, all these new young talents like, Teofimo Lopez, even Jose Ramirez is very questionable if he's still got it. We haven't really seen him in a dominant fashion take on a young 140-pound fighter. It's transitioning at 140 pounds. This could be the fight that puts Hitchens on the map this weekend and get him the attention he deserves to potentially get, a bigger name fight against someone equally his age, reaching their peak level. I'm excited to see this development this weekend. We'll see if Chon Zepeda still got it, but I think Hitchens pulls this one away. Thank you to everybody that joined us for this Mexican Independence Day wrap-up show. I got some news, Drew.
What is it, Dave?
Drew, Evo, and I are expanding while football season is hot. We've been talking to some people, and I think you better stay tuned to what we got. Make sure you subscribe and hit the notification. because Drew and I are going to be starting a football show. That's right. Just an hour dedicated to football talk, picks, predictions, bets. I'll be covering the NFC West. Drew will be covering the NFC East and more. I now live here with the Raiders, so I'll be covering the Raiders. And I think we're going to have our very first show this Wednesday night, to be determined at what time, but it will be all football tailgate talk. I'm excited about that. Very excited about that. Drew, you should have taken up speech on that double or nothing bet, man. The Eagles just stomped. On the Vikings.
I think speech would be 90 by the time I get that 100 in the mail.
So don't miss out on that. I think it's going to be Wednesday evening. We'll find out. I'll post the time. Just straight up football talk, and I'll give you guys all a chance to call in. If you got a team you're rooting for, and you can argue with us, let us know why your team is going to win this weekend. Can't wait for you guys to see you guys there. We will see you next Monday. If you only like the boxing, we'll see you on the Shoe Shine on Monday. And this Wednesday, tailgate talk with Drew Evil and I. See you guys next week. Peace out, everybody.